8 clubs remain over in the FA Cup, that's right, with 7 Premier Leagues and 1 Championship club remaining in the mix, with, of course, only 2 matches away from glory, that's right. Can they get through to the next round? We're going to take a look at that and much more next. That's right, folks, back once again with another prediction video today. It's all about the quarterfinals of this year's FA Cup. That's right, 8 clubs remaining. Only 4 can progress to the semi-finals. Of course, the semi-finals means a Wembley date. That's right. Who, of course, will get closer to Wembley? We'll get into all of that and more in a second. If you're new where you've been, hit the old subscribe. Your one-stop shop for FA Cup, Blackburn Rovers, World Football. We're going to all hear under one rooski. That's right. Can juggernauts Man City get a little bit closer to a bit of silverware this season, or will it be somebody else, of course, going through to the semi-finals? We'll take a look at all of that and more in a second. Big shout out to the members, big shout out to the patrons. You know who you are. What we're going to do now, though, is revisit those last 16 or last round, which I think was the last 16. I bring you back up to date with my picks, your picks, all that kind of goodness. But anyway, let's get into it. Of course, it is only a couple days away, the quarterfinals, but who will be celebrating and going to Wembley in the semis? Well, these were the last round of matches. All right, start the shop there. We start with Aston Villa. They did beat Cardiff 2-0 over at Villa Park. I got the one spot on the nose. Preston, oh my gosh, put 3 past Burnley in a bit of a Northwest crunch clash, that one. Not only sending Burnley out, that was their first game. They conceded 3 goals. It was a bit of a rotated side, but still, Burnley crash out. Palace go through 3-1 winners over Millwall. Got that one spot on the nose as well. Bournemouth coming through against Wolves in the Gary O'Neill derby. 1-1 on the night. Penalty shootouts was the deciding factor. Man City did go through against Plymouth 3-1. I did predict the right amount of goals on that one. I went with a 4-0 win. Newcastle did lose to Brighton 2-1. Got that one spot on the nose as well. Meanwhile, Man United crashing out to Fulham 1-1 on penalties. Then Forest doing the same, but going through against Ipswich 1-1. And, of course, going through via the penalty shootout. So those are the situations there. And now we're left with, our quarterfinals. And what is that? Well, let's showcase you right here, right now. All right, then, folks, of course, 8 clubs remain. And that means just 4 matches for this year's quarterfinals. And, of course, they all take place over the weekend of the 29th and the 30th of March. We start with a trip to, where do we go? We're going to start with a trip to London. That's right. It is Fulham. It is Crystal Palace. That's the early game on the 29th of March. Fulham, of course, in the Premier League up against Crystal Palace, the same. Now, they've played each other 20 times since 1999. 8 wins for Fulham. There's been 5 wins for Crystal Palace, and there's been 7 draws between the two sides. Fulham, of course, coming into this winning 4 of the last 6. They're on 67% form for them right now up against Crystal Palace, who've won 5 on the spin. That's right. It's Glasner ball. Of course it is. Now, of course, of those 20 times they have played since 1999, Fulham have won with a big 3-0 win, their biggest on their scoreline. They've scored 28 goals against Palace, which is work out around about 1.40 goals a game on average. Palace, though, have a 2-0 win on the record. They've got 20 goals against them in those 20 matches. That's a 1 goal a game on average. Palace also unbeaten in the last 6 away matches, and they've won 5 matches away from home in a row. And, of course, have a winning streak of 5 matches all in all. Last time around, of course, they have played each other twice this season already, once at Selhurst Park, which was a 2-0 win for Fulham way back when. That was back in November. The reverse, or the last time they played at this venue, which was the last match they played against each other, was a 2-0 win for Palace at Fulham. In fact, the home side has not won this game in a long, long time. I think you've got to go back to 2019, where Crystal Palace did beat Fulham at home at Selhurst Park. The last time that Fulham beat Crystal Palace in a competitive match at Craven Cottage. It was a 3-1 win for Fulham way back in New Year's Day 2005. It's a long, long time again, folks. Coming into this, though, Fulham on the back of a 2-0 win over Spurs at this very venue. Palace on the back of a 1-0 win over Ipswich Town, of course, to go through. Of course, massive opportunity for both these two clubs to get a Wembley date for their fans. So one of these clubs will be going to Wembley, and I do believe I'm going to back Glasner ball on penalties. I think it's going to be one of those games. Nobody wants to lose this one, and it'll be quite a cautious affair, and it'll probably go down to just a couple of goals. And then, of course, maybe the small factor of penalties. Let's go to the next one. It is Brighton. It is Nottingham Forest, and it's coming at you at the Amex. Also on Saturday, late kickoff for this one. Of course, Brighton, 92% form for them right now. They're kicking ass and taking names. Unbeaten in at least the last 7. They've won 5 of that last 6. The last shot was a draw up against Forest under Nuno Espirito Santo. 3 wins wins on the spin. They're on 58% form for them over the last 6. They have played Brighton 26 times since 2002. 10 wins Brighton, 8 wins Forest. There's been 8 draws between the two sides. Now, of those 26 matches, Brighton do have a 3-0 win against Forest on their record. They've got 29 goals against their opposition, which works out around about 1.12 goals a game. Forest, though, have a 7-0 win on the record. They've got 36 goals against Brighton. Of course, 1.38 goals a game. But Brighton are red hot to trot right now, one of the form teams in the land. Of course, that 7-0 record did actually happen this season against Brighton way back in February 2025. That was this year. The last time they played, though, at this very venue was a 2-2 draw way back in September 2024. Brighton just lost once against Forest in the last 4. And it was that monster 7-0. Brighton on the back of that 2-2 thriller against Man City. Forest on the back of that 6-goal Bobby does it against Ipswich Town. I didn't really go over the bookies' odds on the last one, but we'll go over the bookies' odds on this one first. Brighton are favourite with the bookies, expected to win this game. Meanwhile, if we turn the clock back to just that last one, it is quite tight with the bookies, with Fulham expected to win that game. But I'm going against some of the bookies with the first one. And I think I'm actually going to side with the bookies on this one. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win, Brighton of Albion, over at the Amex. Let's hop on over to the other side. That's just that way. And we go to the only championship club left in this old competition. It is Preston North End. Old school retro feel about this one. Up against Aston Villa. Coming at you over at Deepdale. That's right. They played just 7 times since 2002. 1 win for Preston, 2 win for Villa. And there's been 4 draws between the two sides. The Nobbers, though, coming into this under Paul Heckingbottom. Just 1 defeat in the last 5 on 50% form for them right now. Up against Aston Villa, who've won 5 on the spin. They're on 83% form for them. Now, if we roll back to those last 7 matches between these two sides, Preston's one and only win was a 2-0 win. They've got 9 goals, though, against Villa over the course of those 7 matches. 1.29 goals a game. Up against Villa, though, they have got a 5-0 win against Preston on their record. Scored 14 goals against them, working out around about 2 goals a game on average. Preston haven't lost in any of the last 15 home matches, but Villa are on a winning streak of 5 on the spin. Now, the last 3 between these two sides have ended up all square. In fact, 4 of the last 5 have ended up all square. And that includes the last match they played at Deepdale. 1-1 it was way back in December 2018. The last time anyone won this game was when Villa beat Preston at Deepdale back in November 2017, when both these two clubs were in the Championship. Villa, though, on that 5-game winning run, it might be a little bit of a false positive on that one, because that does include a friendly against Al Ain. But the last competitive match was a 3-0 win over Club Bruges in the Champions League round of 16 to go through to take on, who are they taking on? They're taking on PSG now. Meanwhile, the Nobbers on the back of a 2-1 win over Portsmouth. That was at Deepdale as well. So pretty good run of form for Preston the last 3 home matches. They've only conceded 1 goal in those last 3. Bookies, though, they'll go with Villa. Of course they will. They're red hot trot favourites, but I think Heckingbottom boys can cause an upset here. I think they'll be frustrating for Villa. I don't think it's going to be that bad a result. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Villa on the night, but I think it could be 0-0 way until the 70th minute, because Preston will just keep it going, and then they'll concede eventually, and then of course Villa will make it 2 and look much more better on paper at the end of the day. And then finally we go to another All Premier League affair. It is Bournemouth. It is Man City. It's coming at you over at their Vitality. That's right. Bournemouth coming at you, 42% form for them right now. Not the greatest bit of form, just 1 win in the last 5 matches. Up against Man City, also on 42% form for them. They've got 2 wins in the last 6, the same as Bournemouth actually, 2 wins out the last 6. Now they played 16 times since 2015, just 1 win Bournemouth, 15 wins Man City, no draws on the record, and can there be no draw here? This game has to be decided on the night. That one and only win for Bournemouth was a 2-1 win. I'll talk about that in a minute. They've scored 10 goals against City in those 60 matches, 0.63 goals a game. City, on the flip side, have a 6-1 win on the record. They got 48 goals against Bournemouth, working out around about 3 goals a game on average. Now, that one and only 2-1 win for Bournemouth was the last time that these guys played at this very venue. It was a 2-1 win way back in November 2024. Prior to that, 5 wins on the spin for Man City, and some of them quite convincing. In fact, of those 4 wins in succession, we're looking at 15 goals scored by Man City over the course of those 4. You can do the math on that if you want. City, though, on the back of that 2-2 draw against Brighton, it's actually back-to-back games now without a win for Man City. Bournemouth also on the game of back-to-back matches without a win. The last victory was a dubious penalty shootout victory against Wolves. In fact, the last time they won in regulation time was a 3-1 win over Southampton at Southampton back in February 2005. The odds, though, for this one, Man City are favoured for the victory here, but there's got to be an upset in this cup, and I think the proper upset will be right here at Bournemouth, and it will be Dean Court or whatever you want to call it, 2-1 win for Bournemouth on the night to send the big boys out and set us up for what should be a barnstorming semi-final. That, my friends, will leave us with 4 amazing clubs duking it out for one piece of silverware. We have, of course, an old juggernaut there, Aston Villa, trying to get back to glory, and then 3 clubs desperate for some silverware, and of course desperate for a bit of time in the spotlight. So again, this will look forward to a cracking semi-finals. We'll have those predictions when, of course, we get closer to those. But until then, subscribe, smash the like, catch you later. Until then, we are done.